This presentation is brought to you by the Electronic Motor Racing Network. We are a for-hire broadcaster. If you would like us to stream your league, contact DayPaulB661 on Discord, member number 1015. Thank you, and enjoy the race.
Hello and welcome to the Captain TV Open Wheel Series on the Electronic Motor Racing Network. As always, I am Jesse Rathbun, joined by my good friend and colleague Alan Bledsoe. as my co-host and producer. And then alongside us in the booth again this evening is Mr. Luke Daniels, driver of the number 98 machine, racing for a championship here tonight at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're going to go 500 kilometers this evening. So, fellas, welcome to Indy. Alan, what are you looking forward to, buddy?
I'm looking forward to a very interesting championship race. We've got some intrigue in this because these guys, we're racing for 100 points right here at Indianapolis. This is a doubled points event, as we established in last week's race. Thank you, Luke, for clearing that one up. It is going to be nuts. Of course, the thing is, Robbie Oddy is 37 points in the championship lead. All he needs to do is finish 4th. And if Luke Daniels wins, there's nothing he can do, nothing more than he can do. So, it's gonna be an interesting one. I'm ready to see what Robbie Oddy does here and what Luke Daniels does.
Yeah, and also in third we had Austin Sahr, who is in striking distance. You know, he's only 79 points out, so if both of those guys struggle here tonight, Austin can capitalize on that if he has a good night. So, Luke, tell us, coming into this race, man, you're getting excited, you're getting pumped up, you know you've got an opportunity in front of you. You need a little bit of help, but what are you trying to accomplish here this evening?
Trying to win it and hope that I can win it all. It's a tall order in this field, especially going against Robbie Oddy. There's a reason he's the championship leader, and at 37 points ahead, it will be tough, but like you said, the double points, that's going to make things a little more interesting. And if he finishes 5th or worse and I win, that puts me with enough points to pass him. Or if I win, he gets 4th, and then depending how the bonus points shake out, that could be enough right there. Remember, with the doubled up points, there will be 2 points for leading a lap, 4 points given for leading the most laps, 2 points for pole, 2 points for fastest lap of the race, and 2 points for 0x. So that definitely can change the calculus a bit. Going to have our calculators out during this race, I'm pretty sure, as we see the point situation changing over the course of it.
Absolutely. And so right now you guys are watching the you get qualifying right now, and you're going to get 3 laps out there. And are they taking the fastest lap of the 3? Is that how we're doing it here, Luke?
It's actually a 4-lap average, just like the real Indy 500. However, there was a mistake in setting up the session, and that resulted in qualifying being only 5 minutes instead of the usual 10. And unfortunately for me, I missed the beginning part of that. I was off doing something, and I came back, started my laps, and there wasn't enough time left in the session. I was on my 4th and final lap when the session ended, so I had no time, and that ruins my chance at pole.
That is very unfortunate. So you didn't get those bonus points for winning the pole, which would have been critical in the championship race.
Absolutely. I believe Robbie Oddy was the pole sitter, so that puts him now 39 points ahead with a good position to lead a lap and potentially gain some more bonus points. So now as it sits, winning the race is not going to be enough if he finishes 4th.
Absolutely. Well, since one of the good things about having a tape-delayed race like we do this evening due to scheduling conflicts when the race was broadcasted live, we can skip to the end of qualifying if our producer would like to do that and jump straight into the action.
This is actually a warm-up. I figured... Never mind. Oh my word.
Yeah, they warmed
Matt
up
Telder
right.
just got destroyed. But yeah, thought this might be a good opportunity for us to converse a little bit, talk about the beginning of the race, or not the beginning of the race, but like set things up, because I mean, yes, we have a championship battle to cover, but there are so many other battles for position going on. You look at Sam Fontaine and Zach Hallinan. Fontaine is only 3 points behind Hallinan. And then you've got Scott Wise,
And that's
who
for
is
5th position, top 5 in the points.
That's for a top 5 in points. You have Scott Wise, who is, I guess, 5 points behind Corey Melton, who basically stopped showing up to these races. So that's not going to be much. Charles Baldwin, who missed the first, 5 races, Jesse?
He actually missed the first 8 races.
Well, yeah, even better.
He's missed half the races.
He's still looking good for a possible solid top 10, because that's where Corey Melton's at. And
yeah, he needs just like,
he needs about 30 points.
I don't math well, but he needs about 30 points from where he's at to tie Scott Wise. Now, Scott's going to get points for this race, but if Baldwin is able to score enough points over Scott in the 31, he could jump into that top 10. Also, depending on what other drivers show up for the race and what other ones do not. So we'll have to wait and see how all of that shakes out. But it's definitely a possibility that the 18 of Charles Baldwin, who's missed half the races, could end up in the top 10 in points. And yeah, there's a lot of drivers that have not shown up for some of the races and stuff, but he has jumped guys like Coy Hasselai, Jacob Locklear, Michael Benedetto, who have raced. Coy's only raced 7 races, but Benedetto and Locklear have both raced 11 races so far to this point. So he's jumped guys like that and is right behind Drift, who's raced 14, and Scott Wise has raced 15. So all of those guys are in striking distance with him. That just goes to show how good he's been in the series since he's joined.
Absolutely. Now, I believe we can also take a look at team standings, which, believe it or not, looking at this, I don't know if this is accurate, but according to the team standings in this page, Extreme Sim Racer, which, Luke, is that your team?
Yes, that is me. It's me, Sam Fontaine, and Austin Sahr driving for Chris Scala. He's the league owner and also our team owner.
Well, you guys are 21.9 points ahead of TI Racing. Yeah. Which, as we know, TI Racing has been, lights out, but you guys have been far more consistent. And that has given you guys a very good shot at clinching this championship, the team standings championship.
Right, but like we said, with double points, anything goes.
Anything could happen.
Totally up in the air for sure. And as we see on these races here at Indy, anything really can happen in a given race. They say that Indy picks her winners. You don't get to choose. And it will be important to be consistent, more so than overall speed, but also managing the tire, hitting your fuel numbers, and doing your strategy right. We'll probably see different strategies play out over the course of this race, and you need to be there at the end if you want to make it happen. So that definitely plays to the strengths of guys like Dan Marrera starting on the front row there. But Oddy also has the raw pace that he's had all season, and he's got the pole. So
absolutely. And let's do the rundown of the field real quick. On that note, as we're rolling around under caution, getting ready to come around and take the green flag. So we have Robbie Oddy on pole, as you mentioned, Luke. Dan Marrera, 26 to his outside. Then in the third row, new driver, he's only raced a couple races this season, but owns the league, Chris Scala in that 11 machine. And then to his outside, Zach Hallinan in the 74 machine doing a great job putting that on the second row. Cody Beatty, Austin Sahr, Dylan, I don't know how to say his last name.
Gomez.
And then Joey Ladisseur, Matt Telder, Sam Fontaine. And that rounds out your top 10. So lots of guys that just missed out on that. Scott Wise, Michael Benedetto, Drift, and then Luke starting in the back, like we mentioned. Charles Baldwin also starting in the back. So we're coming around, getting ready to go into turn 4 here. We're gonna wait for the pace car to pull off, and we're gonna put the field in the hands of Robbie Oddy.
That could either be a good place or a bad place. Let's find out.
Absolutely, and so here we go, coming down. Green flag is out, and Audi takes off. Looks at that jump that he got there. Just really jumps out on the field, and that's going to leave a hole for Scala to come through from that second row. And he is looking to take second position inside Dan Morera going through turn 2. On the backstretch, super tight off turn 2. Scala almost drifts up in front of Morera, but didn't, and boy, that was close, guys.
And one thing that I want to point out, so often in these league races do we see a crash in turn 1. But guess what? It didn't happen here. That's how good these guys are tonight.
Comes Scala looking on the inside of Audi for the lead on lap 1. He's going to lead the first lap. Down into turn 1 for the second time. And again, we're going 500 kilometers, 125 laps tonight. Morera under attack for third place behind him. And that's going to move Cody Beatty up into position number 3 as you see these guys swerving down the backstretch. Look at that, snaking down there. The draft here, Luke, so big.
Yes, it's incredibly powerful. And that may be why we see Robbie Oddy running here in second. He may be content to slot in behind Chris Scala, perhaps. Although he didn't lead the first lap, which I did find kind of surprising. But that does help the 98's championship hopes. We see Scala again managing to stay out front as they cross the line there. But now he's going to give ground behind Oddy, because the draft here is so powerful that it does affect your fuel mileage pretty significantly. You're looking at maybe 23 laps that you can do on a full tank out in clean air on the most aggressive fuel map. You get behind somebody, you could probably get to that 25 lap distance pretty quickly. Oh, there's a caution.
32, Jonathan Thomas, it looks like.
Yeah, he was off the pace early.
Looks like Charles Baldwin is also off the pace. He had just come off pit road. And this is not a caution, actually. Pace car is not moving. These two are just slow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the 18, I saw him in the 18 off pace on the first lap there. I didn't know what happened. I thought maybe they missed the start, but the way the warm-up was, they must have had an incident back at the beginning as you 23. See Chris Scala going for the lead again, as now there's a crash. The 23, Joey Ladisseur.
That should bring out the caution for sure.
Yeah, caution's out now.
There it
Here
is.
The engine's slowly backing down here.
Let's find out what happened.
Oh, yep, you
Wow.
see.
Was that Scott Wise?
Yeah, not quite sure what he was planning to do there, but that was not going to work.
A lot of these guys just trying to. So let's go back just a little bit here. So he's. Oh, looked like the 23 maybe just came up off the corner. And it's expected Scott to maybe lift there, Luke, or what'd you see?
Well, to me, it looks like Joey Ladisseur is running basically the racing line at Indy, and Scott Wise is staying high to try to stay out of the dirty air. But you know, he had him cleared, and then Wise just kind of kept his foot in it and got into him a little bit. Just a little blip off the throttle would be enough, or maybe change direction, something. I really don't see that as very necessary contact. I'd say Joey was maybe cutting it a bit close, but that's the type of move that you'll see happen a lot around here. because it is so important to get that draft right. And you pinch yourself off, you're really hurting yourself down the straightaway.
Sure, and I know I was running some practice laps with Scott and a couple of the guys getting prepared for this race, and Scott was trying to hold it high in the corners to keep the momentum up, and then able to get a really big draft down the long straights and slingshot some guys. So maybe he was trying to do that and just wasn't willing to lift at that point, even though we're only 5 laps into a 125 lap race here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So
yeah, definitely. That's the type of aggression that is not really sustainable for 500 kilometers. You need to be careful. We do have one faster pair, but still,
That's
anything
one
can
faster
happen.
pair in 125 laps. You have to use that on lap 5. I mean, you're in real trouble.
For sure.
as you see all the drivers on pit road now, and I imagine, what are the tire sets like, Luke? You got unlimited tires?
Yeah, we do have unlimited tires, and tire wear does matter, but it's not as significant as you'd see in like the stock cars. And because of the nature of the pit stops where it takes longer to fill the car up with fuel completely, generally you're going to see people take tires every pit stop. It could be a question, however, in a situation like this where you come in down pit road after only 4 or 5 laps on your tires, you're only taking a couple gallons of fuel. Is it worth taking the tires too? Because there's always the race off of pit road, and that can cause some reshuffling. You may see some guys losing some spots because they took tires, whereas some others were maybe a little bit more aggressive, thinking, hey, I can get that clean air, and that'll allow my tires to last a little bit longer, because track position is pretty important around here.
Absolutely. And you see Matt Teller out in the lead. He actually stayed on the racetrack. And then right behind him, it was the...
I can't
well,
tell.
let me get off this camera here. Yeah, it was Telder, and then Charles Baldwin came out. And like you said, Luke, I don't think he took those tires, but he came out in second P2 there. And then Cody Beatty right behind him, and Zach Hallinan. And then Chris Galla also beat the 44 of Robbie Oddy off pit road. So as we're working this caution, we are, I think we might be coming to 1 to go. As you see Telder think about pitting, but didn't. That's Hallinan back there that's going to come in and top off here. So while these guys work this final caution lap here, we are going to take a 30-second break, and we will be back here in just a minute. You're watching the Captain TV Open Wheel Series on the Electronic Motor Racing Network.
This presentation is brought to you by the Electronic Motor Racing Network. We are a for-hire broadcaster. If you would like us to stream your league, contact DayPaulB661 on Discord, member number 1015. Thank you, and enjoy the race.
And welcome back to the Electronic Motor Racing Network. We are still working the caution. These guys are lined up on the backstretch, getting ready to go green, as we are joined by Austin Sahr in the booth. Austin, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing very good. We appreciate you joining us here. We're just watching the beginning of this race. Lots of guys coming and going and shuffling as drivers have hit pit road after this early caution between the 31 and the 23. So we're getting ready to take this green flag, and I want to get your opinion on some of the racing that we've seen so far.
Sounds good.
So
hey guys,
they're going to lead him back, getting that gap to the pace car right now in that Kellogg's machine. Got a nice looking paint job on for the last race of the season for Matt Telder. Old salute to Tony the Tiger and Terry Labonte here. So pace car is going to pull off the track, and the field is back under green. Matt Telder takes off right in front of Cody Beatty, and they're going to already try to break the draft down the front stretch.
Not sure if that's having a huge effect yet, but Now at these speeds, as he comes out of turn 1, he should be over 200 miles an hour, and there the draft definitely is huge. It's a lot of speed, but these cars are relatively slippery, so that enables the great racing that we can see at this track. The draft helps you a lot down the straightaway, it hurts you in the corner, and right now I feel like with this IR18, we've got a pretty good balance of the draft not being too strong in one way or another, because if it was just a little bit worse in the corners, it would become a single file parade. If it was a little bit more powerful on the straightaways, it would just be like Daytona or Talladega with constant slingshotting, and no matter how good you are, you can't get away. It is still difficult to get away, I would say, but it enables also great side-by-side racing like this. We see Matt Telder and Cody Beatty going at it for the lead.
Yeah, and Cody trying to get around the outside there, but Telder not going to give him the bottom. You see him hugging that white line, and what does that do to swerve like that? Obviously, it didn't break the draft too much as Beatty's to his outside going into turn 3. Does it truly make that big of a difference if you're just trying to swerve back and forth, Austin? Or does that scrub speed?
It's a little more effective here just because the speeds are high enough. Personally, I think it's kind of a wash at the moment, though. I mean, if you have someone that's really paying attention and really trying to get in that slipstream, you kind of follow suit and you don't lose a whole lot to the guy in front. But if you're not paying attention for whatever reason or not ready then you lose the draft and you might lose a little bit of time.
Absolutely. And so these guys still going at it hard for first place here. And then we've got right behind them Chris Galla enjoying the show, and Telder is just hugging that white line saying, go around me on the outside. And Beatty says, okay, we'll take that challenge. Unable to complete the pass at this point. And from behind them, it looks like everybody's kind of single filed out and just going to try to log some laps here. That early caution maybe scared a few guys, Luke.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where people are trying to mostly take it easy, feel out what they got, and this battle up here at the front, we'll probably see it decided one way or another as the tires wear, because early on in the tire's life, yeah, you can do that side-by-side racing, and it's no problem, but you really need to be up on your tools, managing your bars and your weight checker, and conscious of where on the track you're placing the car to affect the tire wear in the long run. As you see Telder going down to the bottom here, that works pretty well in 1 and 2. I'm not sure exactly why, but for some reason, the high side works better in 3 and 4. They talk about how Indy, there's 4 different corners, and every one of them is distinct and different. And I gotta say, looking at it from the outside, it doesn't really seem like it. But then driving it, there is a difference. Don't know how, don't know why, but you'll see guys get loose in 3 and 4, particularly if you're down on the bottom. And then in 1 and 2, you get tight. And you've got to manage the car and adapt to that, and then also be ready to adapt to if you're side by side with somebody. You can tolerate a looser car and move your weight checker up a little bit if you're running on the outside, but you really need to keep it tight, keep it careful if you're going to go down to the bottom, because like I said, it does want to get loose, and it's also great for wearing out your tires more quickly. So that's a valid strategy as well. You might try to keep somebody pinned down here. I think that's what Cody Beatty's trying to do, trying to keep Matt Telder pinned to the bottom and burning his tires up. And we'll see if that makes a difference at the end of this tire run.
Right, and these guys are still, I mean, Teller's being super aggressive, and there he goes. And he's going to spin it out from the lead, lock it down, lock it down.
Ooh.
That
was
Daniel's
not locking it down.
championship hopeful plowing into the wreck there.
Yeah, that was the 98 of Luke Daniels. It looked like if, Austin Sahr made it through. Zach Hallinan looks like in it as well. The 27 is also in it. That's
I tell they're
Dylan
telling back to pit
Gonas.
road.
Yeah, let's go back and take a look at that. You were just talking about how it's loose down there off turn 3. He just clips that apron, and once he did that, he hit the grass, and it's all over. And right here, we're still trying to save the car, and drove it right back up onto the track.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation all around.
So involved in the wreck is Dylan Gonas, Zach Hallinan, obviously Matt Telder. And then 98 of Luke Daniels. All those guys going to have to use a faster pair here early. And again, that's going to take that out of their hands. So, Austin, what's a driver's responsibility right there as he loses control at the front of the pack?
I mean, this one is a little bit iffy in a sense, just because it's hard to get the car stopped, especially at these speeds. Once you go on grass, like, you can slide, for an extremely long ways and not lose a whole lot of speed. And after that, it's just kind of, hit the brakes and see where you stop. And that, I think, is what ended up here is, a little bit through the grass, and you're not going to really slow up too much through that, and then just hit the brakes and hope you stop before you hit someone.
Yeah, that looks like what happened in this situation. Matt Helder spins and goes to the bottom, and from my perspective, as far away as I was with such a high closing rate at these speeds, it looked like he had it spun and was staying down on the bottom, but the car's momentum, it just ended up taking it up the track there. And so I had to make a split-second decision to go high or to go low, and I chose to go high, and I guess I just guessed wrong. And I tried to cut back underneath when I realized he was going up, but it was too late at that point. And it also has other effects throughout the field, as you saw Zach Hallinan slamming on the brakes trying to stay out of it, and Michael Benedetto reacting just that little fraction, a little bit later. He hits him pretty hard, because at these speeds and with these brakes, the closing rates when someone slows down for a wreck are also huge. So it's another thing to keep in mind, and makes wreck avoidance so critical here, and also so difficult to master.
Absolutely.
And even if you're, cognizant a little bit, if you're a little heavy on the brakes and start locking up with, how these chassis are set up for ovals, they don't slide straight once you lock them up. They start rotating as you slide them. So if you get into a situation like that, even though you might have avoided it, if you slide it like that, you still might be ended up, involved in it.
Right, absolutely. And it's so easy for Alan and I to be up in the booth and talk about these cars and saying what could have been and what should have been, and locking the brakes, and well, just don't come back on the track, just keep spinning to the inside. But yeah, you put it in perspective when you're going 200 miles an hour and you're sliding through the grass, and you're just got so many things going on. You're trying to correct the car, you're trying to stay out of somebody's way, and then ultimately there's just not enough time, not enough real estate to get the car slowed down before everybody comes piling through. And we did see everybody here on pit road the last time by, and now we're seeing a few more guys come back down. Looks like Drift in the back in the 14 there. I'm not able to see who that is in front of him. The 25 of Michael Benedetto, and the 98 of Luke Daniels, all coming back down. Have to think this is a fuel strategy game at this point, as all of those guys. I think Drift made it through that crash, but all these other guys involved in that crash, so trying to get off schedule a little bit, huh?
Yeah, just trying to top up with fuel and take whatever you can get. Although that's definitely going to hurt the 98 with that poor pit stop there. Missed the pit stall and had to back up, costing a couple seconds. Looks like he does get out ahead of 25 of Michael Benedetto. Jacob Drift closing in the gap here.
Yeah, so
So out of those, I
front.
believe
let's
Drift
go.
is the only one in that group that hasn't used a fast repair.
Yeah. And let's go back up front and reset the field as we're coming around to get one to go. I believe they're letting the lap down cars go by right now. So that's going to be Scott Wise in the 31, the 18 of Charles Baldwin, and the 74 Zach Hallinan, the 2 of Matt Telder, and the 27 of Dylan Gonas. All should be getting the wave around, although the last 3 I mentioned have not gotten it yet. But there's still time for them to get it if the admins catch that. So back up front, we've got the 78 of Cody Beatty, who with Matt Helder crashing out this last time, is going to put the 78 up front. Right behind him is Mr. Scala in the 11 machine, and then the 26 of Dan Marrera back up to P3. And right behind him, the 44, Robbie Oddy. And then in 5th position, the 77 of Sam Fontaine, the 13 of Austin Sahr, who was able to make it through that crash, the 23 of Joey Ladouceur, the 32 of Jonathan Thomas or JT, the 18 of Charles Baldwin, the 98 of Luke Daniels, the 14 of Drift, and then getting back on the lead lap, Scott Wise and Michael Benedetto to round out the lead lap cars. So let's go back up to Robbie Oddy here, who he led a lap early, but has not been out front like he does at the road courses. And just as a guy running for the championship here, Austin, I think he's just trying to bide his time and make it to the end of this thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. If you kind of watch him a little bit, he's hanging very close to his teammate Dan Morera. He's not taking any big chances, and this is very much kind of stay close to the front to stay ahead of any wrecks. If you can capitalize and squeak out a win here as well, that would be great. But at the end of the day, there's bigger fish to fry with the championship. So doing everything you can to stay out of the wrecks and stay ahead of them hopefully is the best way to go about it.
Yeah, for sure. And he's doing a good job so far. We're 17 laps into a 125 lap race. And they're doing exactly what he needs to do right here. So we're gonna let the pace car build a gap here as we're gonna go back up to the 78 of Cody Beatty as the pace car is getting ready to pull off of pit road, and they are back under green as Cody Beatty leads him back across the line with the 11 of Chris Scala behind him. And guys, why do we see such a gap from that first to second place? Obviously the gap's going to close significantly very quickly just because of the draft, but is it just because they get to fire off and the gear ratio in these cars is so strong?
It's more reaction than anything else. If the leader goes a little bit earlier than second or third expect, then they'll pull a little bit of a gap as far as that. So, anyone kind of following, you really have to pay attention to the car in front. And if you're a handful of cars back, you really got to pay attention, 2, 3, or 4 cars ahead of you to see when they're going so you can make sure you stay close on the restart.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And it is very common to see drivers miss a shift. Maybe they accidentally start in the wrong gear or in the wrong fuel map as they're trying to save fuel, and then they realize it and then start to catch up.
Yeah, and we've got the 32 on pit road again. That's JT Jonathan Thomas. I'm not sure what happened there, but he bailed out of the draft here, so and doesn't look like he's got any damage there. So we're gonna go back up front and watch the race for the positions up here. And you can really just see how aggressive or really not aggressive these guys are being right now. You saw Scala try to take the lead, but quickly realized that Cody Beatty wants to lead as many laps as possible, so he's going to let him do that. Not going to chase him down the front stretch like we saw Telder and Beatty doing earlier. So Scala content just to run in second place right there, as it looks like Sam Fontaine has overtaken Robbie Oddy for that 4th position. Looked like a little further back than this, and yes, indeed, that is what we saw just out of you may have seen that on the corner of your screen there, going down the front stretch. So, again, we spoke about it earlier. Oddy needs to race smart. He knows what he's racing for. He's racing for that beautiful Captain TV Open Wheel Series trophy that the championship winner will get. And so a long race and a lot of things can happen, and you just want to manage your gaps and manage your tires and fuel load and all of those things that you drivers have to keep an eye on. So one of the things I noticed, guys, whenever I was doing practice with you guys, is that there's different philosophies on the adjustments and how to use those in these cars. So like Austin, you were talking about how you use the weight jacker on a corner-to-corner, lap-to-lap basis to make adjustments to the car, whereas Luke, you said that you like to use the front and rear sway bars. So Austin, tell us why you choose to use the weight jacker. Is it a feel thing? And then Luke, I want to get you to weigh in on why you use the bars instead.
It's a little bit of a feel for me. What the weight jacker does is it actually changes the cross weight of the car. It physically changes the spring perches in the suspension and thus the weighting of the tires altogether. And ideally, when you get on throttle out of a corner, you're supposed to have effectively equal weight between the two rear tires. So I try to kind of get close to that, and weight jacker's the adjustment for it. And I just feel a lot of times it's a little bit more of a subtle adjustment than the bars can be sometimes, and sometimes I feel it can be significantly more too. So once in a while I do kind of revert to the bars, but primarily weight jacker just because I usually notice a click or two, and it seems to feel kind of the right difference between each one click that I can definitely go like, okay, well, I need 2 clicks here, and it'll be kind of in the ballpark of what I'm looking for. Plus I've noticed weight jacker tends to primarily affect entry and exits for my style of driving, so that's typically where I'm looking to gain a little bit or make a little bit of a trade-off with the car is really that entry or the exit phase of the corners.
I can say that for me personally, my experience does somewhat match with his. The weight jacker appears to affect the entry and exit more so than the center. But the big thing I've found is that it also affects the way the tires wear. Because as you're changing up how the cars get loaded, it might not seem like a huge change right away, but like over a fuel run, it does have a profound effect over which tire you burn off first, the right rear or the right front. And so for me, also for safety, I prefer to have the car be looser with the bars rather than trying to use the weight jacker to make the car loose. Because on an oval, you're going to lose more front downforce behind another guy than you will lose rear downforce. So it tends to be tight when you're behind someone. And you can use the weight jacker to make it rotate, but what ends up happening is you burn off the right rear more and more and more, and then you start feeling like the car is good through the center, it's good, and then you get to the exit and it just wants to snap loose on you. And we've seen a lot of guys do that. It's a very common mistake, very easy to do. So I prefer to avoid it. Go ahead.
We've got a crash off 4, guys. Zach Allen, I
Hallinan.
believe. Yeah, he just did exactly what you're talking about. I mean, right on cue. Oh no, just jump to the end of the stream.
I will say though, to Austin's point about adjusting the weight jacker corner by corner, that's something I started experimenting more with this race. I'll do it more if I see somebody like come up ahead of me and I really need it on exit.
Here,
But
let's watch what happens to Zach here. So, sorry to interrupt you there, Luke. So yeah, he
just
touches
clip
the
the
apron
curb.
there, and
That inside strip sometimes there, because the traction changes and the camber changes just slightly, it'll actually kind of grab that front tire, and you'll get a little more bite on that inside front, and it'll just kind of suck it down in an inch or two, and that's really all it takes a lot of times to get the car rotating and out of control.
Exactly.
yeah, and I experienced that exact same thing that he did right there. And whenever I was practicing, it just you get comfortable and you try to get down there a little bit to make the car turn a little bit is what I was feeling, and then and then you just clip it a little bit too much and it takes the car out. So we've got all the drivers on pit road again, except excuse me, except Luke Daniels stays out this time, just trying to get some track position. It looks like is that right, Luke here?
Yeah, that was one of the benefits of topping up during that last caution. I had a couple fewer laps on the tank of fuel than the others and was mainly taking it easy. So hopefully at this point I'm banking on, can I get another caution soon and then soon get back on sequence, because at this point we have less than 100 laps to go, and you can do 23 to 25 laps pretty easily on a tank. So I'm looking at everybody that just pitted is going to need to stop 3 more times for sure. If we get a caution in the next like 10, 15 laps, I'm going to be on the same strategy as them. Plus, I may actually come out ahead down pit road. So it's just something in the back of my mind. You always got to start from the end of the race and work backwards. So just trying to make up the difference for getting caught up in that wreck earlier, because track position is so huge here. It is very hard to come up through the field and pass people without being overly aggressive, and that's something that I can't really afford to do without a fast repair remaining.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw you before that, while you guys were explaining the weight jacker and the bars adjustments and stuff. Excuse me, we saw you back there behind that hornet's nest of drivers and just kind of biding your time there. So we'll see. You got the track position now, and see if you can hold on to it here, as we're gonna get one to go this time by.
Yeah, I believe Moreira had a connection issue at one point in this race, so that might be where he's going, but he does come back if I remember correctly.
Okay, so yeah, Dan Moreira has dropped out of the field momentarily, but as you stated, hopefully that's just some connection issues and he'll be able to join back. Because he has not used a fast repair yet, so he would not be out of the race due to the fast repair or being involved in multiple incidents or anything like that. So must just be a connection issue. Sucks for him. He's had that a few times when he was running really good and he had the points lead earlier in the season. I guess that's why he needs to move to America, right, guys? But so, yep, here we go. We're getting all these guys coming back off pit road. Looks like a couple guys coming off. Zach Hallinen's back there, and then a few other drivers. Zach currently one lap down, and Dan Moreira one lap down as well. Dan back out on the track.
We got Chris Scala coming in for pit road. I didn't see him caught up in any damage, but he may be doing exactly what we discussed earlier, just topping off with fuel, doing these long cautions, and hope that gets you a little bit closer to the end than everybody else.
So tell us what these cautions do for you. Luke, are you the strategizer, or do you and Austin kind of do both of it?
Both kind of do.
Okay, so while we're getting this field caught back up, can one of you guys explain kind of what the process is while you're under caution, trying to keep all of these things in mind, or do you do it enough already that it's just kind of second nature to be able to do it while you're racing and while you're pacing?
A lot of that actually comes from just being able to just having time to run some testing beforehand and figuring out exactly how far we can go on each tank, and from there it's kind of like, okay, well, we can usually get, I think it was about 23 or 24 pretty regularly here, so it was just kind of like, okay, how many stops is this amount of laps divided by the 24, and we can kind of guess about what we need to do from there and kind of gauge like how close we need to be to make it a one stop or a two stop. And it's just kind of from here just looking at like, okay, when do we need to stop, what lap do we need to get to just to not make an extra stop. And that's usually more the question than try and making at least stops, is just how do we avoid an extra one.
Sure.
Right, particularly an extra stop under green. Like I said earlier, you always got to keep the end of the race in mind and work backwards. And one thing I've started doing recently, knowing that we can do 23, 24 laps, I basically calculated, all right, if I were to do 23 laps, what fuel mileage do I need to hit? And like, what about for 24, 25, 26, 27? And I wrote those down to keep in the back of my mind. So if something came up and there's a potential situation where, hey, you can do it on just one more stop, but you have to get 26 laps on each of them, then I can have that fuel mileage number in my head already.
Absolutely. And so here we are coming back to green. We got Luke Daniels out front, Cody Beatty in second, Scott Wise up to third position here. As we are back under green, and Luke Daniels gonna lead him across the line down into turn one. When we are just completed lap 29, so working lap 30 here. And now the field spread out as Luke is comfortable up front. Everybody's single file throughout the field. Some of those lap cars that were getting their laps back unable to catch the field before the end of, or before the green flag came out. So as we're looking at Chris Scala back there in the back, and now we jump back up to the battle for second position, I'm sorry. Scott Wise, being an aggressor, he's known to drive aggressively, is down on a fast repair. Potentially, he could have gotten that wing repaired without a fast repair, right, Luke?
Yeah, you can repair a wing in about, I believe, 5 seconds of stop. It's a very quick release system they got there. Just a couple little bolts, take the whole thing off, put a new fresh one on.
Yes, he goes way wide in turn 2. I don't know if that was intentional or if he was trying to get that run that he did. As it looks like the 74 are going to look to the inside of Luke Daniels there, and he's going to have it. Or I'm sorry, the 78. And so he's going to move up to the lead position here, and Scott Wise running that higher line through the corner, trying to stay out of the wake. Luke Daniels not ready to give up the lead as he fights back on the inside. Scott Wise is going to go down there. Does that third car in line there give you a push like you would in a full-bodied car, or is it just kind of he's just getting a bigger tow with guys too wide?
The third car does get a tow. They also get more. They also suffer more in dirty air in the corners when they're too wide ahead of him. And I do think once he gets close, there is kind of that little, almost like beach ball effect they talk about in stock cars, where being behind somebody does push them. It's definitely not as pronounced as a stock car, but I think it is happening to an extent.
Absolutely. Well,
The leaders are starting to split up a little bit, and this could be a strategy turning point for some of the guys a little farther back, like Oddy and Baldwin, who are starting to kind of break back a little bit. If they're out of the draft, these front groups could actually kind of run away a little bit if we stay green for a while.
Yeah, and then we've got another group that's trailing behind that even further, and that's going to be the 27, Dylan Ganas, and
Yeah, I believe that's
that Austin Sahr or Michael Benedetto right ahead of him. And so this is a big group of cars back here as we kind of get a wider shot there, and you can see them spread out there. Benedetto leading this group, and he is back on the lead lap now. So again, in the Captain TV Open Wheel Series, if you're a lap down and a caution comes out, they have begun to wave around the entire field to try to prevent some of the aggressive driving from drivers trying to get their lap back the old-fashioned way. So how do you guys feel, Austin, how do you feel that has helped? Has that helped any, or does the aggressive driving on ovals still an issue?
I feel it's definitely helped. You're not pressed to be, in front of the leaders come caution, or at least in that lead group, fighting to stay in contention, wait if, P1 or P2 comes in for the pits and sticks you behind the pace car. You don't have to, get up there and mix it up with the guys that are trying to win races or are trying to win the race right now. And, just kind of, you can kind of be present, and just kind of watch the show in a sense. You don't have to, actually be up there and race with them anymore. So, there's not really much of a point to being, in there. Just, kind of staying in contact is more than enough at this point. So I feel in that sense the aggression has kind of dropped a good amount on some of the ovals, just because, the guys trying to get their lap back don't have to fight so hard to get up front.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Just watching the races, it looks like some of the lap down cars are not quite as aggressive. Still aggressive as everybody is throughout the entire field, lead lap or not. But I do feel that it's back down a little bit as we've got a massive battle for the lead still brewing. It looks like the 31 has taken the point, but it's also gone back and forth. And you see here, Luke Daniels gets another run. And guys, Luke, this is a track that if you wanted to, you could literally switch the lead twice every single lap, once on the front stretch, once on the back stretch.
For sure.
with a good
Although when
team,
the
that could be
tires
an
wear,
option
that
as
can
well.
definitely change things. So that's something to keep in mind. There's a little chess match going on for that for sure. But at this point, I'm trying to keep in mind the championship. So I need to be aggressive to stay in the lead and get the most laps led. But I can't be too aggressive because running side by side with somebody, it's always dangerous at these speeds, and I don't have a fast repair anymore. So just a little calculated aggression going on, and I guess a 230-mile-an-hour chess match at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, with the draft here, especially like if this lead group starts to work a little bit and kind of, do a little Indian run type thing, like they could actually use the draft and potentially pull away a little bit more. And I want to say if Luke wins, Oddy needs to finish like 5th or 6th, and he'll jump him by a point or two in the championship. And right now we're kind of on that bubble, so we'll try and see if anything plays out, if a lead group will kind of run off, or looks like they're starting to catch up now, though.
Yeah, and it looks like they're catching lap traffic too. That's Zach Allen, clearly way off the pace, and I don't know if that has to do with damage on that car or if he just lost the draft and the draft's just that much faster. So definitely broke up this lead pack though, where that broke them up, so they're spread out a little bit more. But now there's a bottleneck for about 3rd position where he's currently side by side with everybody, and these guys are trying to use him to get a little bit of a draft to catch that lead pack, but also try not to get into him. So he was involved in the most recent crash, and I'm not sure if that was his first fast repair. I believe he had been involved in a crash already. But I can't say. Yeah, but I can't say for sure. But I believe he was involved in that Telder incident.
Yeah, he was.
Spin off the corner here on the backstretch. The 78's around.
Oh, big crash! Wow, that's definitely going to bring out a caution.
27. Dylan Gonas stopped on the racetrack as the caution is out.
Oh, and that's Cody Beatty that hit him.
Well, Cody Beatty
unfortunate.
spun. Cody was the first one to spin off the corner.
Okay.
Is what I happened to catch out of the corner of the screen down here.
Well, one thing that does is that definitely plays into the 98's hand. Remember, he was taking a gamble, hoping that a caution came out before he ran out of fuel and needed to make a green flag pit stop.
Yeah,
so that effectively puts him back on the same cycle as everybody else.
Yeah, and Cody just about lost it in turn 1, getting on the apron, and then you see here the back end just come around off turn 2, and he spins down. I'm not sure how. Oh, okay, the 13 or the 25, those guys have the same paint scheme, and he just got spun right into him. So they were going to be okay. Neither one of them were going to have damage. That's the 25 of Michael Benedetto. Yeah, the 27 looks like
he caught a little bit of apron and grass and just kind of wiggled up and lifted a little bit, and that's where it happened from.
Yeah, and unfortunate for Drift there.
Gonas.
Yeah, Dylan Gonas, that's going to end his night probably. He had to use a fast repair earlier. Drift, I believe, also had to use a fast repair earlier. Cody Beatty should be okay. Yeah, definitely unfortunate for those guys.
I was going to point out earlier with the 74 of Zach Hallinan, you mentioned that he's was causing a bottleneck there. It is possible that he repaired the damage from his second crash, but it is also possible that he couldn't get it fully repaired. Because if you have just a front wing damage, that can be fully fixed. But if it continues on and there's suspension damage or other optional repairs, you may never get the full performance of the car back.
Well, and I know a lot of times, even if you repair all of the optional damage, you're still not going to get back to 100%, right?
Typically, right, yeah. The exception appears to be with a front wing that you can be fully repaired, but it doesn't take much to damage more than just the front wing.
Yeah, especially in these cars whenever they have the, no fenders on them and the wheels, any kind of minimal contact with the wheels can certainly cause bigger issues than just a wing damage. So, guys, I think it's a good time to take a break, take a step away real quick. We're going to have a few laps under caution here as everybody's still getting it sorted out and damage getting fixed. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back after these short commercials on the Electronic Motor Racing Network. And we're going to bring you some more of the Captain TV Open Wheel Series. So we will be right back.
This presentation is brought to you by the Electronic Motor Racing Network. We are a for-hire broadcaster. If you would like us to stream your league, contact DayPaulB661 on Discord, member number 1015. Thank you, and enjoy the race.
Hello and welcome back to the Captain TV Open Wheel Series on the Electronic Motor Racing Network. We are coming back up front, getting ready to take the one to green as we are still cycling people back to the lead lap after that big crash off of turn number 2 on the backstretch, collecting multiple cars. The 25 of Michael Benedetto got into the back of the 27 of Dylan Ganos after the 78 of Cody Beatty self-spun after clipping the apron. So, Austin, it's been so hard for these guys to do long green flag runs throughout the season. I feel like we've gotten a little better, especially this race. It feels like there's been a lot of cautions, but it's also a very, very long race. So, Austin, what is your thoughts on how the racing has improved over the season as we are one to go and got the cars lined up on the backstretch?
I mean, as we kind of talked about earlier, a lot of the lap car aggression has kind of subsided a little bit for a lot of the people, as well as, just overall we've got a better feel and better familiarity for the car, so we kind of know its capabilities a little bit better, as well as our own capabilities as drivers. So I feel like overall, even though we've seen a decent amount of cautions tonight, that the racing is generally improved from earlier on in the season, and we just might see a long green flag run, and we could very easily see some green flag pit cycles as well, depending on how everyone kind of plays with each other, or if the field tightens up and gets a little bit thinner with some more crashes.
Absolutely. So, Here we are getting ready to take the green flag, and that's Joey Ladouceur out on 44-lap-old tires, and Chris Scala with 17 laps on his tires now coming to 18. So we've got some older tires out front, everybody else on new tires. The first guy on new tires, Scott Wise in the 31, and then Robbie Oddy in the 44 has been biding his time throughout the race. Here on lap 45, he has made a move to the front, being the second car on fresh tires. Looks like Luke, he's kind of letting these guys go ahead and get ahead a little bit as he knows they're all aggressive in front of him.
Yeah, he's just wanting to get easy, bide his time, not do anything too crazy too early. Oh, we've got a wrecked car right there.
Yeah, that's the 14 of Drift. Got a right front down this time. And already, he already used his fast repair just a minute ago. So that's going to hamper his ability to complete the race as we're going to look back and see what happens. Austin, why don't you walk us through what you see here?
Ooh. I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that.
Yeah, it looked like somebody just got on the apron. Is that Scala?
Yeah, that definitely looks like someone just a little bit too low on the apron, and again, kind of back to earlier where that little strip between the line and the grass has a little bit of a camber change and a traction change, and that'll grab that inside front tire and kind of suck it into the center of the corner and cause the car to rotate. And, and kind of sitting down there, especially if you go through the grass, and again, you're not going to be able to slow up the car too easily down there.
Yeah, and then we've got the 14 just trying to get around the outside here, and
Hey, you can see he's still kind of on power a little bit, trying to keep the car down a little bit and out of the way, but that momentum's going to carry you up to the track eventually.
Yeah, and so unfortunate for John Thomas, he's had a couple incidents here tonight where just hasn't gone his way, and then Drift, innocent bystander, just trying to avoid the crash and ends up knocking his right front tire off. So under caution again. So what are all these cautions doing to the fuel mileage race, Luke?
Definitely making it easier. When we went green, we had a little over 80 laps to go, so using that fuel mileage target I'm thinking, hey, there's 27 laps that I need to do in a run here. Oh no, what happened with the 78? Oh, and he's already used his fast repair, so that could sideline him for he just hit the attenuator. I think he was distracted messing with his black box or something. Oh. Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, and he's done for the night. He just says, I'm over. Yeah, I don't know. Could have been looking down at any number of things, there, and then looks up and there's the pit wall. So, Luke, go ahead and finish what you were saying there about the fuel mileage making it easier.
Yeah, so I was planning on, hey, I need to do 27 laps on each tank, and that will require some fuel save. So I was running on a leaner fuel map and taking it easy, biding my time. But now, in the situation where all of us can potentially make it on 2 more stops without fuel saving, so we might see some drivers turn up the wick a little bit and work their way to the front, or attempt to. But man, that is unfortunate. 3 drivers, I believe, taken out right there. You had Zach Hallinan, who'd already used a fast repair and had a broken wheel. Same thing with Drift and Cody Beatty. So that, and Jonathan Thomas as well. So that may thin the field out significantly, and it's possible with fewer cars around, we may see fewer cautions. So that strategy calculation I'm thinking of, it maybe seemed like it didn't matter early on in the race, but late in the race in the Captain Series, things tend to go green for longer. So it could be very important now from here on out. I think we'll see a lot of green flag running.
Yeah, absolutely. That is 7 cars that are out of the race. Really 6 cars that are out of the race because Michael Stefan never was able to get started here tonight. So 6 cars that started the race are now either out of the race or on pit road. Looks like Drift is still getting some repairs. Zach Hallinan getting some repairs. Cody Beatty, his pit run number is still running. So those guys all still getting some repairs, and even John Thomas, his number's running right now as well. So there's these guys not giving up, but definitely not going to be able to have the finish that they were looking forward to. So looks like we're still just now getting one to green. So let's hop up to the pace car and see if we've got one to green this time, or if we
Make a
can go
drift,
ahead and
leaving pit road.
hop a couple laps ahead here.
Yeah, as you said, he's definitely not giving up, and that is good to see. But unfortunately for him, that I don't want to say never, but that does effectively make his chances extremely slim. Because, like we talked about earlier with these cars, when you damage them, like suspension damage with the broken wheel, as you saw all those drivers had, you never do get the full performance of the car back. So it'll take a lot of luck if he wants to be in contention for this win. He's more probably just trying to salvage everything he can and get the best points finish possible. Oh, he crashed again.
Crashed again. And
Like-
that is a lot more damage there on that
Yes.
one. So we've got while we're pacing here and trying to get the field set back up so we can get back to green flag racing, and we watch drift around here on the infield. We will see where our points contenders are running. Right now we've got the 44 of Robbie Oddy in third position. We've talked about him biding his time, trying to keep his nose clean, keep his head down, just get to the end of this race. So far, 48 laps into the race, he's done just that. And then behind him, a couple positions, is your second place points battle. The second place guy in points, Luke Daniels in the 98, running in fifth position. And then third place in points, Austin Sahr in sixth position. So all of these guys have, Luke got involved in that early crash with Matt Telder. So he used a fast repair. Austin, I don't remember, were you in an incident yet or no?
I don't think so. I think I managed to escape them all this time.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but that's
So,
I don't think I've been involved in anything, so it's
absolutely. So you've been able to keep your nose clean too, from what we can tell. And right now, again, just to recap the points, Robbie Oddy leads, Luke Daniels 37 behind, needs to win the race and Robbie finish fourth position or worse. Austin Sahr needs to win the race and have both of those guys finish, quick math says, fifth or worse if he wants to win the race or win the championship points. So definitely close behind everyone. And then Dan Morera in fourth position in the points. He is sitting, what position is he in? Right, he's in ninth position on the track. So, and then Zach Hallinan is his closest competitor, who is 3 laps down in 13th position. So Dan right now, as it sits, in a good position to hold on to fourth in the points. So as we've got these guys coming back around, letting the pace car build a gap, coming through turns 3 and getting ready to cross over to 4. And we've got Scott Wise out front. No, Chris Scala out front. I apologize. Chris Scala out front. Scott Wise in second place. Robbie Oddy third. Charles Baldwin, our latecomer to the series, who has really turned some heads, running in fourth position. Luke Daniels rounds out the top 5. So let's go on board with Scott. He's very aggressive on these restarts. So let's see what we can see from his cockpit as we get back under green, and the green flag is back out as we're on board with Chris Scala. And you can see him going up through the gears here, and the guys behind him are getting a little bigger in the mirror, not quite getting there. Against Chris is on older tires. And Luke, tell us, does the weather play as big of a factor in these cars as it does other cars, or how does the weather, the wind, the heat, track temp affect these cars?
I'd say it's a pretty significant effect. Maybe not as big as it would be at some other car or some other tracks or with some other cars perhaps, but it does affect the overall speed, and the main thing it affects is the tire wear. So the track temp is around low 80s, I believe, and so it's a relatively cool track for where we're racing. It can get a lot hotter than that for sure, and that does enable some of the side-by-side stuff that we've seen, and that also allows Chris Scala's strategy here of being on older tires to potentially work. If it was a 110-degree track temp, for example, I don't think that would work because the tire fall-off would be so huge. As of right now, it seems like if you stay out, you burn fuel, the car gets lighter, and that is enough to offset the tire wear, typically. But if you have even fuel and your tires are older, there is a slight disadvantage there, and it probably will be increasing as the track should be getting hotter and hotter as this race wears on.
Yeah, Austin. What do you know? What time this race started and why? Is it just like the cloud cover? Has that gotten worse or better as the race has gone on?
I believe
From your
cloud
memory.
covers remained relatively stable throughout the race. As it changes a little bit, that could change the track state, and then we could be playing a little bit more of a tire game on how long tires are going to last and when they'll fall off. But so far, the track seems to be pretty stable in, temperature right now. So I don't think we'll see a whole lot of big changes with different tire wear coming into play.
Okay, that sounds good. So we're on board with Robbie Oddy right now and Charles Baldwin. We just saw Charles overtake Robbie and then slide up in front of him through the corner. Luke, can you tell us what that does to the nose of Robbie's car and how he can adjust knowing that car is going to clear him and slide up in the middle of a corner?
It's definitely going to make the car get tighter, but you can adjust with that with your bars. Typically, the way I'd prefer
While
to do
it's
it,
happening?
maybe. Yes, I would.
Okay.
You gotta be heads up, see it's coming, and say, hey, he's probably going to clear me before we get to the corner. Go ahead, be proactive, and move the bars a bit. That's the type of thing that has you exiting the corner right on the guy's tail instead of losing a lot of momentum and having to take a lap or two to try and get back up to him before you can make a move again. You can move the weight jacker a click or two, but I don't think he'll need very big adjustments at this point because he has several cars back in the field right now. The number of cars you have in front of you, the higher it is, the bigger that dirty air effect is. So you can really tell a difference when there's one car ahead of you versus 3 or 4. So I think he's probably got it already adjusted for what he needs. But the biggest thing you're going to do in that situation, especially with your teammate there or sister team, is lift a little bit, back off the throttle a little bit. That's one of the best ways to compensate for that.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate the insight there. You see the battle for the lead just ahead between Chris Scala, Scott Wise, and Charles Baldwin heating up. These three guys really pushing hard as we continue to see Scott Wise go use that high line, and it has clearly been effective as he's been able to stay out front, towards the front at least, for a lot of this race. Was involved in that early incident on lap 3 or 4, but since then has been able to drive to the front and pretty well stay up there. We kind of talked a little bit about the philosophy that he was talking about during practice. Have you guys had a similar feel, Austin, of using that high line to keep the RPMs up maybe more than the inside line does?
Bigger thing with running a different line, especially with running around different cars, is really to keep good airflow over the car. As far as running a little higher or a little bit lower, there wouldn't be a terrible difference. Although running a little bit higher could potentially have some benefit, just because you don't have that slight change in the track down by the line there. Might be a little bit of a safer line to take and be a little bit easier to maintain.
In my opinion, I think if you're by yourself, you don't really want to run the high line. Perhaps there's something for tire wear a little bit better, but I don't think it's really worth the speed loss. The bigger benefit, in my opinion, is when you're running side by side like he is probably about to be with Chris Scala here. I will say I don't know why, but it does feel like the inside in turn 1 works better. And turn 2, it can go either way, and then in 3 and 4, the outside is very clearly the better spot to be in when you're side by side with somebody. Again,
and
not sure why that is.
Well, and also the tire wear you mentioned, and I hadn't thought about it yet, but if you're continually using the outside line, you're the only one out there that tracks. You're probably going to use that tire a little more because there's no rubber laid down. Now that would be in real life, but I don't know if the sim, if it lays rubber down in that same pattern, or if it just rubbers in the track as is and doesn't do it. But that could, like you said, it could decrease the tire wear, but in the same sense, it could also increase it as you see these guys too wide going through turns 1 and 2. Very fun to watch this battle for the lead, but the rest of the field, it seems that has just kind of chilled out. We went through that phase earlier in the race as we're getting ready to complete lap 59, and Chris Scala lifts going into 3 to let Scott Wise get back out front. So, Chris, hold on to it, buddy. As we've got Chris Scala coming to pit road. Sam Fontaine stopped on the track in between turns 3 and 4. And Sam Fontaine has reset and towed his car. So not sure what happened back there.
Is that going to bring out a caution? That should, right? Oh, there's another car there.
Two cars.
That looks like it's going to be a caution.
Yeah, I see the pace car pulling off pit road.
That's Matt Telder, the sister teammate. Involved with one Nexus Star driver and then another. Austin, I don't know where you are, but I'd be sweating if I were you, especially with your luck on the ovals.
Oh, man.
Well, there's another thing is Chris Scala hit pit road as that happened. So he is still going to be on the lead lap. And everybody else is going to come to pit road, right?
Right, that definitely played out really well for him. He should be ahead of everybody once everything cycles through because he was just about out of fuel and had to come in that lap. So now that we're all going to have to come in because, you can't really run the risk with this long on this fuel tank, hoping for another caution. So I think you'll probably see the rest of the field come in, and Chris Scala, unless he messes up his pit stop or got a speeding penalty or something, he should retain the lead.
Yeah,
we see Scott Wise going slowly. What happened?
I think he's just waiting for the pace car there.
Ah, okay.
So another thing I'm looking at Scala's, just updated. I was going to say, I was looking at his pit number, and it looked like it was 6 seconds, but it just actually updated, so he did take tires there. So obviously we expect all of these drivers to come down pit road once pit road opens. And there they go to take that left-hand turn. So, going to get 4 tires and fuel. We'll see who wins the race off pit road. You see Charles Baldwin being aggressive onto pit road there and really trying to maximize everything he can to try to get that lead off of the front stretch. So, as we come to halfway, we're just completed 61 laps of 125 laps here tonight. So, we're coming up on halfway, pretty darn close. We're going to start thinking about the end of this race here after we jump to a break, let some of these caution laps wind down, quench our thirst a little bit, and then we will be back to cover the end of this race. As you see, the 31 beats the 18 off pit road, right, followed by the 44. So you are watching the Captain TV Open Wheel Series on the Electronic Motor Racing Network.
This presentation is brought to you by the Electronic Motor Racing Network. We are a for-hire broadcaster. If you would like us to stream your league, contact DayPaulB661 on Discord, member number 1015. Thank you, and enjoy the race.
Hello and welcome back to the Captain TV Open Wheel Series on the Electronic Motor Racing Network. So, as we came to one to go, your leader, Chris Scala, ducked onto pit road to top off his fuel. So, always a fuel mileage race in the Open Wheel Series, and no different here as it looks like these guys are warming up their tires, swerving back and forth, trying to get heat built so that nothing catches them by surprise when they go into turn one at speed once again. So everybody trying to get their bars set where they had them before they take the green flag on these fresh tires. You always want to get that reset right before you go, otherwise you might break loose off the corner. So we'll have Luke talk about that once we get back going. We've got Scott Wise out front in the 31 machine, is leading lots of laps here today. The 18 of Charles Baldwin is right behind him, and halfway through the race, Robbie Oddy, P3, Luke Daniels, P4. So your top two championship leaders doing a great job of staying out of trouble as we are back under green. Dan Morera gets a great run on Luke Daniels back there, but has to let out of the gas to ensure that he does not run him over or cause any kind of damage there. So another great restart as these guys are getting back up to speed in single file throughout the field. And it's going to be a matter of time before these leaders start swapping position. You got two aggressive guys out there, Scott Wise and Charles Baldwin. So these guys are definitely going to be going at it. When does Robbie Oddy push? Is it time for him to take the lead as we are over halfway through the race with 61 laps to go?
Got to be wondering if he's biding his time trying to save fuel. You see Charles Baldwin stepping out to take the lead from Scott Wise. He's going to lead this lap. And I'm thinking Chris Scala probably was doing something similar. I'm not quite sure why he'd give up the lead otherwise, but I believe he wanted to top off with fuel and see if he can make it to the end with only one more stop. It's going to take a caution, but if it works, he looks like a hero.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's the old saying, if it works, you look like a hero. If it doesn't work, you look pretty silly. But we'll see how it plays out and see if he's a hero or a villain at the end of this. But Scott Wise, I can't compliment him enough, doing a great job out front. He's been criticized throughout the season for being really aggressive on all types of tracks. And in the season finale so far, he's been able to put it together. Even got criticized earlier in this race for being a little aggressive on lap 4, getting into the back of one of his competitors, but has since rallied and kept it clean and has taken that machine up to the front. Along with Charles Baldwin, who has also been criticized for being a little over-aggressive at times. And both of these guys, their aggressiveness paying off here at Indy, leading the field around the circuit. So, Luke, why don't you tell us what these guys are feeling? Let's go on board the 44 here and just watch this battle, and you can tell us what these guys are dealing with as far as the air goes and what Charles is trying to do as the second car.
It's tight. Though it is interesting that Robbie Oddy was in 6th gear all the way through the corner there. I would have thought he would have downshifted to 5th. That's what I would have done in his shoes most likely. Oh, and you see 98 of Luke Daniels going by to the inside. Oddy's going to try to cross him under. I don't know if he's going to get it done. Perhaps Oddy is saving some fuel. Yeah, he leaves it in 6th gear. That's going to hurt his momentum a little bit. Luke Daniels on the charge, but big picture here, Robbie Oddy knows, hey, he's still in 4th no matter what. Even if the 98 wins this thing, Oddy's going to win the championship. So he might be just content to ride back here, let those guys up there battle it out, knowing that he's got nothing to gain and everything to lose almost. And Luke Daniels is going to have to be maybe a little aggressive to to get up to the front. Oh, I'd touch the curb there on the inside. That's going to make the car loose. Good job of holding on to
Yeah, it
that
looked
for
like
sure.
Luke did the same thing right in front of him.
Yeah.
He was going on the inside. It looked like he just cut the corner just a little bit, and he lost all his momentum there. And I think Robbie was watching that and then ended up doing the exact same thing.
See that happen quite often in racing. Somebody ahead of you makes a mistake, and for whatever reason, just you end up following them. I'm not sure why, but it was definitely scary for both of us there. I had a brown pants moment for sure. I heard Oddy as he falls back behind Morera. That puts him, should be in 5th place now.
Oddy had to get out of the gas going into turn 1, and that allowed Morera to get by him. I'm sorry, I'm back, guys. My mic's not muted anymore.
Yeah, and so there. Yeah, you were just saying,
battle
you
for
know, Luke
second and third. I think Luke Daniels just got around Baldwin for second.
Yeah, and so that was going to be my question to you. At this point in the race, we're over halfway through the race. Are you trying to push now to get to the lead? Are you feeling the pressure, or are you still just trying to log some laps? I mean, here you go. You're going for the lead right here. So I guess that answers my question. But
Yeah. I was definitely feeling the pressure. At this point, my strategy decision is all out, flat out, push hard, just drive the heck out of it, try to get to the front, lead the most laps, and then if there's a caution or a couple of them, we'll make it up one more stop. If not, we'll need to come in, pit, and then probably going to need a splash of fuel at the end. But it's better to try and be up front and control the race from there.
So, if you win this race and Robbie Oddy finishes where he's currently at, that would be the championship for you.
Yes.
However, you're racing Scott Wise here pretty hard, and if you were to finish second with Robbie Oddy in 5th, that is only a 20-point difference, which would be, well, not enough. You'd be 17 points behind. So
yeah, we've still got a long ways to go here with 53 laps, and we saw how long the first half of the race took to get through it with all the cautions. Now the field has dwindled a little bit, but we still have a lot of drivers out there on track. So it's going to take quite a while to get through these 53 laps. So a lot of things can happen still. A lot of people can come and go during that time, as we've got it looks like, I'm just looking at the track map, the 11 and the 23, both on the lead lap, but they are both running significantly slower lap times and falling off. And I think that's exactly what you said, Luke, just trying to save that fuel for a one-stop race.
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, it's an alternate strategy, but hey, it's one of those situations. If it works, you look like a hero. If you don't, you look pretty bad. But we'll see how it shakes out here. And, you know, in this position, why not? Go ahead and roll the dice, see if you can roll something, especially with the way the leaders are running right now. The 98 and 31 side by side, swapping the lead back and forth. There's a good chance with this many laps left, somebody makes a mistake and causes a crash. And if that happens, if you're right behind them, like say Robbie Oddy is, or Dan Morera, that whole lead group, you may not have an opportunity to avoid it. You might just be caught up in an unfortunate victim. So Chris Scala maybe just thinking a little bit, thinking ahead right here. And,
Yeah, and
is the
like,
battle for the lead settled yet, or are we still duking it out
they're
up there?
still side by side up here. And, you know, and like you said, there's a
bringing
long way
whole
to
bunch
go.
of people with them too.
Yeah, and like you said, there's a lot of room to make a mistake here, and the way you guys are driving right here, too wide, side by side for lap after lap after lap. That's 50 laps to go, and that's 200 opportunities to make a mistake between the four corners. So, plenty of opportunities to mess up, and it's hard to hold that concentration in these cars. If you need anything, it's concentration 100% all the time, because it does not take much to put a wheel wrong, drop a wheel in the dirt, hit a curb, and end your day.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And this battle just still keeps going, but we may see that fall one way with how often Scott Wise is forced to stay on the bottom and pinch the car off. that is going to wear his tires just that little bit more. And if you notice, 98 is often leading right at the line. So he's getting credited for those laps led, even if he spent most of the actual lap behind the 31 of Scott Wise. Just something on the back of the mind here. I really don't want to be super aggressive and racing super hard at this point, especially without a fast repair remaining, but I don't really have a choice, to be honest, because I need all the points I can get to try and beat Robbie Oddy for the championship here.
Yeah, and what we're seeing is exactly what we talked about earlier, where you're changing the leader is changing 2 times in 1 lap. You know, you lead at the line, and Scott is able to pass you and lead you down the backstretch, and then you're able to pass him back and lead at the line again. Although that time I think Scott was able to
Luke
lead
got
that
it.
lap. Luke got it. Okay,
Luke
so
got it.
you know, it's just those little battles, and you know, the more you guys swap position back and forth, you know, that's more opportunities for something to go wrong. Just takes a late move on a draft or a slight block, or you know, just something simple but difficult to predict. And you know, I have to think Robbie Oddy's back there in 5th watching you do this and just kind of chuckling a little bit, saying, man, you're playing with fire up there.
Possibly, but you know, it is also practice for the end of the race, and yeah, he can see that, and so it's probably benefiting him too. But you know, planning these moves out, like, okay, if I want to make a move here, how much time does it take for me to get back around him? How much room do I need to leave? What's the car gonna do if I try to adapt here? Now we'll see. 32, Jonathan Thomas, lapped car there,
In
just
the
kind of
wall.
parked it right there in front of the leaders. I unfortunately got into him, but it's just the guessing game. When the car is damaged like that, the closing rate's pretty high, and it can be easy to make a mistake and accidentally get into him without meaning to. I think he was trying to get out of the way, but just kind of made the decision a bit late. And there's that, you know, in that situation when you're walking one way down a hall and somebody's coming the other way, you go to the right, they go to the right, and you go to the left, and they do it too. And the real awkwardness, kind of that sort of exchange we had there.
Yeah,
So
he's currently headed down pit road, and I have to think he's going to just park it here. Doesn't want to affect the lead, and you know, I have to think with him deciding to come down pit road right after that, that's likely what he's going to be doing. You know, he's already 17 laps down at this point, so
And he's
you know,
passed all the guys
He's out there getting.
that have
Yeah.
left the race.
Yeah, and I mean, you're getting experience to go around the track, yeah, but you're also not at pace, not not really gaining anything. So you see him parked right there in the pit box, and
he may have damage from that additional contact with the wall, because it
yeah,
doesn't really take much. It's just a little bump draft there. I'm not sure if it even damaged the 98 or not. It might have, but that just little extra shove when your car is damaged like that, it can send you into the wall pretty easily. And with the damage, it may be quite a handful to hold on to and to even drive laps around here at all.
well, the 98 did lose that position to second place, so that's going to put Charles Baldwin up to second and Luke back down to third for now. But you know, you've talked about your aggressiveness at this point in the race, so I don't expect to see you back there much unless there is some damage to that car, and you're not, your car's just physically not able to get back up there and compete. But right now, it looks like the lead has kind of settled down with Baldwin not even really making a push at this point to challenge for the lead, just kind of content riding at the moment. But I have to think if he gets a run on him like it looks like he's going to do here, that he's
Yeah, it
going
looks
to
like he's going to try something here going into one.
Yep, there he goes. That move right after the line, going to go into one, try to go underneath him, and not going to be able to make it work as these tires wear 22 laps on the tires. What's a fuel run here? What are we looking at for green flag pit stops?
23 to 25 laps typically. If you're saving really aggressively, you can maybe get to 26 or 27. But I don't think anyone in this top 5 can do that. They don't look like they're saving aggressively enough for that. The exception would be, I guess, Chris Scala here. He may have maybe running on a really low fuel map, although it does hurt him that he has lost the draft. So I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do the believe 31 laps he would need to do on a tank. That's quite a tall order.
Yeah, especially by yourself without that draft to assist pulling you around. Now, this is a question for a real life versus the sim here, Luke. So in real life, where we watch the Indy 500, you see the entire field back down to make a fuel number instead of just pushing and basing the fuel run off of, going max speed. Like if this was real life, the whole field would have backed down to Chris Scala or Joey Laticer's pace. But in the sim, we see multiple different things going on at the moment, where you've got some guys going full out as fast as they can, maybe on a lower fuel map, but still not backing it down to the 11 or the 23.
Well, I'd say it depends. There are plenty of times in real life where you do see differing strategies. Although, sure, as a group, the whole field or most of the field kind of falls into one camp, but there's always some differences. Like at the Indy 500 this year, when Scott Dixon and Alexander Rossi in the first fuel run, they stretched it a lot longer. Oh, Scott Wise coming into the pits. That's going to be a green flag pit stop. Let's see if he gets a good pit
Scala
exit.
on pit road too. So, not sure what that strategy is to give up the lead just to pit at 18. The same time as the 18 stopped in turn 2. And
that's Charles Baldwin who's running second.
And
no caution.
Leads the race. Yeah, let's go back and take a look here. And then we'll go back to the pit stops and see what's going on. And he was in the lead and just flew over.
What is what?
Well, I know he has
funny story.
Yeah, he has other obligations at times. So let's hear.
That looks like something that happened outside the sim. But at the time, I thought, okay, he knows that Robbie Oddy needs to finish 4th or better to win the championship, and Oddy was running 5th at the time. So maybe he was thinking, hey, if I just pull over and let him by, that helps Oddy out. But it seemed too early for that, and I also wouldn't expect him to stop there. But apparently, what happened was, in short, it was past his bedtime. We had some issues with the session here, and for some reason it was like pulling up a heat racing format, and it took like 4 different tries to finally get the race going. So we started over an hour late.
I remember seeing that on the Discord.
Yeah, it was definitely a trying time. I mean, I'm in Central Time, so it's not very bad for me, but if you're on the East Coast, it was already getting pretty late. And then for Baldwin, it was past his bedtime, and apparently his mom yelled at him, and he had to get off. And he's like, "Sorry," just shut it off immediately.
Well, yeah, because for those watching that don't know, he is still in high school, correct? Like 16, 17 years old?
Yeah, I think
something
he's
like that.
14
or maybe
or 15.
18.
And
he's that.
This race happens on Thursday nights, so
he has school the next day.
Still has school the next day.
We've got green flag pit stops going on right now, so that's Luke Daniels coming in. And there's 37 laps to go, so definitely going to need one more pit stop for sure. And doesn't look like he has anybody coming in with him. See Robbie Oddy and Dan Marrera still riding around right there. Probably benefiting Oddy quite a lot that he can just ride back there behind Marrera.
He's
and
not
get
going
fuel.
to.
It's definitely not. He's going to make a move.
This time. I would say if he's going to pass him like that, he's going to probably peel off in the next lap or two, just trying to get as much time gained as he can before he pulls down.
And
here he goes.
As well as Marrera and his teammate. Oh, Marrera spins right in front of the 13.
Was Austin Sahr involved?
No, Austin
he was
did a great job of avoiding it. So we'll have to go back and maybe see if there was any damage on there. But I think he was able to get around it okay.
Oh, that is potentially huge because Robbie Oddy had Marrera to draft with, and I guess they couldn't stay out any longer. But if you look, the 98 is in completely clean air. He's all alone and is going to be burning more fuel. If Marrera doesn't lock up here, which is admittedly very easy to do when you're trying to push to minimize the
Boy.
amount of time you spend slowing down. Yeah, it's definitely a
The
scary moment for Austin Sahr.
reflexes there.
Yeah.
You gotta admit, Austin Sahr had great reflex timing there to avoid that accident.
Very impressive. Not a lot of time, for sure. But now this definitely shakes things up because the favor definitely looked to be towards Robbie Oddy, having a teammate to draft with. But now he's got no one as well. And 13, I guess, didn't have quite as good of a pit stop because of that avoidance maneuver he had to do. And so he's a good ways back. And
He
actually, it
may
looks like the
still be
44
able
is
to catch
closing
them.
in. He might. The draft here, if you're about 2 seconds back, you can start catching them. But that might change when Audi gets closer to the 98. If those two start leapfrogging each other, they could pull away from the 13. We'll just
So
have
how
to see
does
how hard they get to racing.
So how does leapfrogging each other allow you to pull away from the field? Because if you're in any car that's heavier or bigger than this, it's just going to pull those trailing
front
cars
car.
back.
It's
It
gonna
takes
push
some-
the front car forward.
Yeah, it's gonna take some it takes some cooperation for sure. But there is something to be said. I do think when you're just right behind somebody, that does help the front car a bit. Not as much as a stock car like say Talladega, but it happens. The big thing is the trailing car gets a big run down the straightaway, and if you time it right, the two drivers that are working together, you can get
Do
clear of
that
the other driver
clinch,
before you get to the turn. And
gotcha.
in that situation, you're gonna have to probably lift a little bit anyway. So why not just lift a little early, so that he's got you easily cleared before the corner. You're a little further back when you're actually in the corner, and then you're not scrubbing as much speed because you're not fighting the tires as much with the dirty air, and then you can catch up to him, get a run, and do the same thing back.
Yeah, and let's just take a second and recap what is currently going on right now. So before the pit stop, Scott Wise was out front and switching positions with Charles Baldwin. Scott Wise peeled off first. Baldwin had to go to bed, and now Luke Daniels, Robbie Oddy, and Austin Sahr are 1, 2, 3 in the race and 1, 2, 3 in the points. So currently, as they run right now, if the race finished like this, Luke would come up short. Robbie would win the championship. Austin would be in third in the championship. But we still have 33 laps to go and plenty of time for this to change. But currently, these are the only 3 cars that are in the draft right now because Scott Wise is well off pace, and then Chris Scala with the head scratching decision to pit and then lay back. Maybe just didn't want to be a part of the story coming down to the end. But so he's not. It's going to basically be a 3-car battle to the next pit stop, and then it's going to be who can get off and who's going to be left in the field. So currently we have 7 drivers left in the field. Sam Fontaine in the 77, 2 laps down in 7th position.
And Luke, I want to ask this real quick. How far back, like what is the max timing distance that you can be in order to just sniff the draft? Because in stock cars at super speedways, it's 1 second. You want to be within 1 second to be able to catch the leaders, or the lead pack. So what is it in Indy cars? Because they're so much faster and more slicked out, if you know what I mean.
Well, it depends on the track, but here I'd say about 2 seconds. Maybe you could catch the car from like 2.5 seconds back. It'd be kind of tough, but 2 seconds is doable. It just takes a while. As you see, Austin Sahr is closed in on first and second right here, and Robbie Oddy looking at taking a peek into 1 here, biding his time. But you got to wonder, although he knows if he finishes here, he wins the championship. It is Indy, and every driver wants to win Indy. So
yes, and if he wrecks, that is going to put that's going to put some pressure on him because he doesn't want to even lose a lap because he'll be in 6th place at that point.
Right. Although, Robbie's not this type of driver, but if he does wreck right now, chances are it involves the 98, and he knows that if they both finish at the back, then he's going to win the championship. But like I said, Robbie's not that kind of driver. He's not going to go in there and pull a Senna moment where you intentionally take somebody out to secure your championship. He wants to race for the win and race hard.
Yeah, and he's driven a really smart race the entirety of the race. Hasn't had to push his car, and has really let the race just come to him. Which is kind of contrary to what he has typically done as far as you look back to Texas, and we were calling it super aggressive. Going 3 wide through the trial just to get back his track position, and but here he's really just. He's
being conservative.
Used his head. He's driven half throttle. It seems like most of the race, and given every position. Anytime somebody's tried to overtake him, he's let him go, and knowing what we've said multiple times, he only has to finish 4th, and right now he's running 2nd. So I don't think he has any reason to push right now. Even if he lets Luke lead the rest of the laps and win the race, he doesn't have any reason to push. And even with Luke Daniels getting those extra bonus points for leading the most laps, I just don't see the risk versus reward. But of course, if he was Denny Hamlin, he would drive up there and try to move him out of the way because, that's what they do.
We're referring to the Cup Series race earlier this week, where Denny Hamlin literally stopped Alex Bowman from being allowed to do a victory celebration, stuff like that. It was pretty funny.
I think he spent too much time on the sim rig and thinks he can do the same kind of stuff in real life. But apparently NASCAR's okay with it, but I defer. And we are back here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the sim. And Luke Daniels still out front. Chris Scala not making much headway back there, drafting with Sam Fontaine. The 31, unfortunately, has been losing ground to these top 3 cars. So,
Luke is just coming off pit road.
Yeah, and if you guys were to be saving fuel up there and maybe on fuel map 5 or something, and Scott put it on map 1, would he be able to go much faster to catch you guys, or is it just too big of a gap at what looks to be about 4.5 seconds?
He would be able to go faster, and he would probably be able to catch us, but I can tell you, I'm definitely not on map 5. I'm on map 1 thinking, hey, just take a splash. But actually, knowing that Robbie Oddy is right there behind me, and we have another round of pit stops, if I wait all the way to the end, until I'm about to run out to pit, he's going to have my draft. He can come in and pit. Maybe he gets a slightly better stop than me or worse. I don't know. But he's going to have the draft, and he can stay with me the whole time. So if I pit early and maybe hurt myself a little bit early on, I can potentially break the draft, be away from him, especially because I've got Austin Sahr, my teammate, right there behind us. So if we come in early, that leaves Robbie Oddy all alone. And then Austin and I can go back to leapfrogging each other. And that could maybe allow us to get by him. And I'll be looking at taking tires with 23, 21, 22 laps to go. But if I take tires, I'll have fresher tires late in the race. Whereas Robbie Oddy, if he stays out all the way till the end of the race, if he's smart, he's going to come in and just take a splash of fuel, because the extra time spent taking tires is going to slow him down and cost him several seconds. But that means he'll have older tires late in the race than I will. So maybe that gives me a bit of advantage. Maybe it's not enough to overcome the extra time I'm going to spend on pit road, but as a little sneak peek, that is my strategy here.
In there with you.
Maybe so.
He's got the way the pit road here is. You're going to come off turn 4 lower than normal, so that could send up a flag that you are coming off the track, and he could make that adjustment if he felt comfortable doing it, or he could even come in the very next lap. But
here we go.
Here you go. You see the 2 guys pulling off the track, like you said. Don't lock up those rear tires like we saw the 26 do earlier.
Yeah, got a little close there.
You both are able to get on there. It looked like you both were a little bit on the line, but didn't overpush. So It'll be interesting to see how the 44 responds if he does run long.
Oh, you
no!
missed your pit
Yeah.
stall.
Costly mistake.
Yeah, for
But-
that plan to work, you can't have a mistake, and you did, but you're still going to beat your teammate out.
That's only maybe a second, perhaps, that it cost me. So maybe it can be overcome, and it does look like Austin Sahr is ahead of me there. So
Yeah, I saw
we'll
the
see what
car
happens
that was
here.
behind you that was pulling off pit road, so I thought that was awesome. But
Definitely
yeah,
a frustrating moment for sure. I spent a good amount of time practicing pit stops for this race, and I could nail the getting down to pit road speed, but getting into the box is actually even trickier because you lose all that downforce and the stopping distances get a lot longer and it gets looser than when you were at high speed.
Yeah,
These-
that was one of the things
these
that
cars are-
surprised me whenever I was doing the practice, because I did want to experience what it was like coming to pit stops, and I actually did a silhouette coming off turn 4, spun it all the way around, made it down to pit speed, didn't hit anything, kept going down pit road, and I was quite impressed with myself for doing that. But then I got to the pit box and I slid like 4 stalls too far. And I was just, I was surprised that the car. I expected it to kind of stop on a dime, and it absolutely did not.
Yeah, if you
On a
think
road
about
course, it absolutely does. It's just in the super speedway trim, when you're slowing down to the actual to your pit stall, it's almost like a stock car.
these cars may be significantly lighter than the stock cars. I mean, stock cars are close to 3,000 pounds, but these Indy cars, they're still well over 1,000 pounds, and they still only have 4 tires, so they're not just going to stop on the spot. You know what I mean?
Right. They're great at slowing down from speed because of the downforce and the drag. And yeah, they do have, I believe, wider tires than a stock car, and they are still lighter, but it is still, it's not a huge difference. The difference is smaller the slower you're going, if that makes sense. It's like this
Yeah,
thing can slow down from 200 to 100 way quicker than a stock car could, for sure. But from like 50 to 0, it's surprisingly not as different as you would think, except in
Right.
road course trim.
Yeah, and right now we've got the 44 and the 11 are the only two that are out there on those old tires, and it looks like the 31 has just made his way back out onto the track and is going to fall in line with the 44, so he's going to have some drafting help for a minute anyway but Scott is behind him, so he's not going to be able to draft off of him.
Right, and he made his previous pit stop sooner than Robbie Oddy did, so we know Scott has to stop one more time. So
Wait,
that-
Scott has to stop one more time because he just
He
stopped.
just
Oh,
came
sorry,
off pit
after-
road.
just stopped.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, what I meant was he's made his last stop,
Yes.
but as far back as he is now from the leader, unless Robbie screws up his pit stop, I don't think Wise is going to be able to catch him because the pit delta is not nearly as long as a full lap here.
Right, exactly. So, I guess with the pit window being what it is, Robbie's only run 20 laps here, so he could go another 2 or at least 3 laps if he wanted to, right? And here you go. You're watching the slingshot maneuvers that we've talked about you guys trying to work out here. So you clear him here, and then he's going to get in line behind you. And
Other
you
way
guys are-
around.
Other way
okay.
around,
He
yeah.
cleared.
He cleared you. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, you guys need to put a stripe or something down one of your cars.
I'll come back here and yeah. Sorry about that. The white wheels is the easiest way to tell them apart. I've got the white wheels.
Oh,
White
okay.
and black. Oh, okay. Never
I've
even
never
noticed
used
that.
Thanks for waiting to the last race to tell us. Luke.
Right.
I really appreciate it.
I mean, I thought it was
16
obvious.
laps to go.
I'm impressed that y'all managed to tell them apart as long as y'all did without noticing the wheels. Because if the wheels are the same color, I wouldn't be able to tell them apart.
That's true. I mean, we use the track map a lot.
A lot.
And it's not common that you guys are right on top of each other, so there's usually a car or two in between you guys where we're able to tell it a little easier than currently. But
Because then you get to use the leaderboard there too.
yeah. But so yeah, and it looks like Robbie's still on track, and he has fallen behind the 31. So I'm gonna try to use that draft to maybe close the gap with Austin and Luke here before making his pit stop. Again, he's on lap 23, just crossed the line, 23 of this run. So expect to see him on pit road in a lap or two here as we're looking, and he's gotten back around Scott. And last time he passed the car he was drafting with, he was able to come to pit road, but Scott's like, I'm not on your team. I'm not a part of this plan, so I'm going to pass you back.
Well, the thing is, that's helping
Oh.
Robbie Oddy a lot. It's allowing him to gain the time that he needs, besides having to run by himself. He can keep the time with the two teammates that he's racing for in championship standings.
Right.
Right, as long as Scott plays along with that plan. Now, if Scott goes in the corner and battles him side by side, then that's going to negate what that advantage is. Or if he runs 4 lanes high, turns 2, and he's still going to get a good run down the backstretch like he has all race long. So, Luke, at this point, how many laps can Robbie run?
I would expect to see him in the pits in 1, maybe 2 more laps. I really don't see him staying out past, past 2 or 3 laps from now. Yeah, this is what his 25th lap of the stint.
Yeah,
Yes.
So
25th. So
he should be coming in any minute now.
Probably this time by.
well, and this has helped him just visually on the track map, having Scott there slingshotting back and forth, because I see that Luke and Austin haven't been doing that for whatever reason, at least not as much. And it looks like, just by appearance on the track map, that they have closed that gap a little bit to help Scott catch up a little bit, as well as Robbie, as you see him pull off and head to pit road for the final time. Don't lock up those rear tires, junk yourself. He does a great job getting onto pit road, so now it's don't miss your pit box and see where you come out.
Well, I don't mean to sound biased, but I am absolutely rooting for him to miss his pit box here, if I'm being honest.
And here he comes, and
And did not
Does
miss his
not.
pit stall.
Dang it.
he does go fuel only. It doesn't look like I saw any tires changing there, so he is down and away and is able to accelerate hard out here, and I think he's going to blend right in line with you guys. It looks like somewhere close, maybe come out behind you, but still
98
in
and
drafting
13
distance.
coming into turn 4 all almost at the same
two.
time here. Or turn 2, yeah, that's what I meant.
So there's the
that's what I
98
said.
closing in right there. So he actually comes out ahead.
Yeah, and you
that
can see
shorter
from
pit
the
stop
blimp.
definitely helps.
Yeah, if you go to the blimp, you can see the distance really well.
But that is close enough to where the 98 can catch up to him. He's definitely close enough to use the draft and gain on him.
And
Just
you
a
have
question
those-
of what's going to happen later on. But with the fresher tires, that
Right.
you've got to think that is potentially an advantage.
Well, and even if it's not an advantage, Robbie can pull over and let you both go by, and still clinch that championship as long as there's no incidents around him. So, be honest, if you catch him, are you thinking about maybe giving him a little shoulder through the corner?
Whoa, look at Robbie weaving through the through the backstretch.
So that answers your question right there of whether he's going to just pull over and let 98 and 13 by. I think even though he can have the championship clinched, like I said, every driver wants to win Indy. So he's already over here trying to break the draft, which, if
Here
I'm
we
being
are
honest,
coming to
I had avoided
9
doing all
laps
race
to go.
long. Yeah, I'd avoided doing that all race long to not overplay my hand. But now that I know that he knows it, as funny as that sounds, now that I know he knows, I know that I don't need to hide anything. Go ahead and use all the bags of tricks here. With breaking the draft, I got to say, it does actually work. Although it does slow the leading car down, the idea is that the trailing car doesn't get as much of a draft, and so that they aren't really alongside to be able to make a move going into the corner. And then when they're behind you in the corner, that dirty air is going to slow them down, and they're going to hopefully be behind you for another lap. So there we go.
There
That's
it
a battle
is.
for the lead right here.
Going to the outside, Luke Daniels to the outside of the 44 of Robbie Oddy going through turn 1. Looks like Robbie's going to clear him down the backstretch, and we have 8 laps to go, and here's the battle for the lead and the battle for the championship, while Austin Sahr has lost ground on these two. But with them side by side, he may be able to pull right back up there because they're not slingshotting each other. They're just, being side by side, and that is going to slow them down a little bit, right?
Right, but it does punch a bigger hole through the air in the corners. And I can tell you from when I was behind Baldwin and Scott Wise, when they were side by side, it gets a lot harder to close up the gap than when it's just one car, or even two nose to tail. But wow, look at this race, and we have the fuel mileage strategy playing out, different ideas on how to handle the final stop, green flag pit stops, and then here we are. We have the top 3 in the championship all battling first, second, third. I mean, you could throw a blanket over them with 7 laps to go.
Yeah,
absolutely
they
incredible.
are. It looks like Luke Daniels did make that pass and got around the 44, so now it's going to be up to him to break that draft, and there he goes doing it as we come around for 6 laps to go in the Captain TV Open Wheel Series, and Luke Daniels, Robbie Oddy, Austin Sahr out front, and the top 3 in the championship battling for the top 3 positions in the race. I don't think we could have asked for anything better.
Scala in 5th.
And neither one of those are a factor as they are too far behind these leaders unless something terrible happens and they're able to catch back up. But even at this point, Luke Daniels is the only one that's used a fast repair, so he's really the only one that needs to worry about an incident with only 5 cars on the lead lap, 6 cars on the lead lap. But
Robbie Oddy to the inside, 5 laps to go.
Yeah, Oddy going to make that move. Luke going to let him have it. Maybe not let him have it, but he's going to kind of roll out of the throttle just a little bit so that he can get that draft down the backstretch, try to make it by again. Because, Luke, right here, are you thinking, do you want to be in first or do you want to be in second taking the white flag? Or do you just want to lead?
I want to lead. I want to be up front, not only just to lead, but also because, remember, in IndyCar, there are no green-white checkers, so races can end under caution. And now we're potentially at the point where if a caution comes out, that can be the end of the race. So every lap really matters here. You can't just wait and bide your time till the very last lap and then make something happen. But I will say there is a chess match going on. There's a lot of thinking and planning well ahead. Like I said, I never could get the outside to work as well in turn 1. It was all right in 2. But it's definitely the place to be in 3 and 4. So I'm a lot of times giving up the inside. I say giving up. I'm still fighting hard and trying to carry as much speed as I can through 1 and 2. I'm bumping the weight jacker up a couple clicks to get it looser, let it rotate a little better on the high side because the car can handle it. I'm even doing things. I'm moving the weight jacker down on the straightaways to try and get the rear of the car lower. Every trick in the book I can think of.
And here we go. 3 laps to go to work all those tricks that you're just talking about. So.
And you got really close to Robbie Oddy there off turn 4. That was, wow. Yeah. It was tight.
It's definitely tense for sure, but a ton of fun. And that's one of the great things about racing Oddy. I hate how good he is. I hate that even if I beat him here, he still wins the championship. But he is good and he's aware, and you can race him closely like that. Not every driver could do that. With you side by side. You can't really trust everybody like you can Robbie Oddy because you know he's going to hold his line. He's not going to do something dirty, and he's going to race hard but also clean. And here we go, that chess match we talked about, 2 to go, and you're trying to
inside.
Yeah. All right.
So yeah, and then we've got Luke, you're able to clear him there. Now you're leading down the backstretch with 2 laps to go, swerving back and forth, trying to break that draft. Oddy's going to pull up behind you. See Austin Sahr in 3rd position there. The guys have single filed out. You just heard Luke talk about if they single file out, he could catch up. So can Austin make a run and spoil these front 2 as they've led the final 12.5 laps? But here they go. He's going to give Oddy the outside. There's one lap to go, and you see, we've heard Luke talk about the outside in turn 1 is not the place to be. Turn 2, you can hold on, but we've seen Luke when he was out there, not able to make the pass. Here he goes. He's out back. He gets clear. Oddy to the inside. Is the outside the place to go? Here comes the 13 of Austin Sahr. He backs out. The 98 has the high line. Oddy's going to clear him off a 3. One more corner, one final time for the Captain TV Open Wheel Series. And here comes Oddy in the 44. The 98's to the outside. They almost touch. They're coming to the line. The 13 has a run. The 98, Luke Daniels, going to get the checkered flag. Oddy, P2, locks in the championship. And Austin Sahr in the 13, trying to be spoiler, coming across the line. Almost had it managed, but not able to get there. And what a finish. Let's go back and take a look at that again. Luke, you won the race, man. Congratulations on that. But tell us what your heart was doing while you were battling that last lap. And you see your teammate coming in the mirror. Let's get a photo finish of this here. You see you guys almost touched there. We're going frame by frame.
Yeah,
Unbelievable finish.
That was
it's so close. It looks like a
absolutely
formation.
awesome.
Like looks like we staged that for a picture or something. But it's just how it worked out. Just racing that hard.
A half a car length at 212 miles an hour. We don't have the frozen time. Actually, we do. We got the results right here. That is 2/1000th of a second. That is a half a car length in IndyCar at Indianapolis. Yeah. That is the closest finish in the Captain TV Open Wheel Series. And we leave it to the final race of the season, 500 kilometers at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Absolutely amazing.
Luke, tell us, was your heart racing there at the end? You won at Indy. How does it feel?
It feels amazing. I couldn't believe it. I was just stunned. I wanted to win this race so bad. I put in so much time into it, trying to practice my pit stops, trying to run different lines, run around people, like planning different moments, practicing my moves. Like, what if I'm here? What if I'm on the outside? What if I'm on the inside? How long does it take to get back by him? And how can I make these adjustments to make the car better in these different situations? And to be honest, coming to the white flag, I thought I had just ruined my chance. I thought I had outsmarted myself because I was trying to keep the outside in 1 so that I could have the run down the backstretch and then take the outside in 3 and 4, because I knew if I kept him down there on the bottom there, he was mine. But just trying to wiggle back and forth, break the draft, and knowing he's going to be doing the same thing, there's always like a guessing game of like rock, paper, scissors of where to go, how far to weave, and I ended up screwing up, and he ended up having the outside, and I thought I was done because I'm sure I'm going to be faster through 1 and 2, but he's going to have the run on the back stretch, and then I can't get to the outside in 3 and 4. But somehow it just worked out. He left just enough room on the outside of 4 for me to get a little bit of draft mid-corner and then make it a drag race down the straight, so he couldn't draft me back, and I could just be side by side. And then I saw it coming, and just amazing. I couldn't believe I got by him right before the line.
Yeah, and it's amazing. We talked about Scott Wise doing that high line to keep up the momentum throughout the entire race, and that's what it came down to. Well, and that's what it came down to, was you keeping the momentum on the outside of the racetrack off turn 4. You thought the pass was going to happen in turn 3, where you could either hold him back or keep the lead or take the lead from the outside, and then to lose the lead in turn 3, and your heart has to sink knowing, oh my gosh, I just lost the race, to, oh no, there's an opportunity here, and you're able to take it and capitalize on it. So you had an awesome season. You led the points. You took the points lead over about halfway through the season, or a little before that. You held on to it until about 3 weeks left in the season. Robbie's just dominance on those road courses finally caught up to you. You had, I think, one bad race on a road course, and I say bad race, I think you finished 5th, and he won, and I think that was just the writing on the wall there for the championship to eventually go to him if he continued winning and you finishing 2nd. So you had an awesome season. we can't thank you enough for what you've done on the track, but then to join us in the booth at the end of these races towards the end of the season, as we've not been able to carry it live. So you've done great there as well. And congratulations to Robbie, man, to bring home the championship, and he's going to get that awesome trophy provided by Chris Scala and the league admins here. So you missed out on that, unfortunately. It's a beautiful looking trophy, and I'm sure Robbie's going to enjoy it a lot. But you got a lot to look forward to, Luke, and you do a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And hats off to Robbie Oddy. He did a great job this season and this race. I wish I could have beaten him in the championship as well, but finished in second, and winning Indy, I think, is a decent consolation prize. But yeah, it was a tight battle all year long, and there's multiple things that either one of us could have pointed to where, if he hadn't messed up at Chicago, it wouldn't have even been close. If I hadn't have messed up in one of the early races this season at Homestead, or if I had just done better at Red Bull Ring, that I could have been at, finished third at Red Bull. If I had won and he finished second, that's more than a 20-point swing, and the margin of victory was 17 points. So it just goes to show how there's a bunch of different races where the outcome could have changed a lot in either direction.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Alan, man, you've helped us along this road throughout the season. Tell us what your final thoughts are. Wrap up the season, wrap up the race, and let us know what you're thinking.
An awesome finale to an awesome season. Chris Scala did an absolutely amazing job setting up this series, and he really set it up for success. I'm quite honestly excited for what's gonna happen in season 2. We'll see if Chris actually, if he decides to allow us to broadcast season 2, or if he decides to move on. I know we've had some struggles with broadcasting it live, but I'm hoping that getting to it in tape delays helps a little bit with that. But this was a spectacular season, and excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate Chris for giving us the opportunity to broadcast the season that we had, and give us that experience and give us the feedback and stuff that we desired and really needed to prove to ourselves that we're able to do it, but also to other people. So we appreciate Chris for giving us the opportunity. Chris Lewis at TI for giving us the opportunity to start doing his leagues, even though they weren't able to finish that season. So Chris Scala, hats off to you, man. You had a great league. Hats off to all the drivers who made all the improvements. The 74, 26, 18, 2, 23, 14. I mean, I could go on. Everybody has done such a great job. Even the 98 and the 44. So congratulations to Robbie Oddy on the championship. Congratulations to Luke Daniels on the win. And we will see you guys all next season, hopefully. So have a good night.